Okay, welcome guys. Welcome to another Conversations with Kevin podcast. Today we have Julie Mattinson. Oh, is it Mattinson? Mattinson.
It is Mattinson.
Yeah, Mattinson. And I met Julie probably about 3 weeks ago, not that long ago, and she's the director of a company called IPSUM, and it's all about having a creative outlet for people with mental health challenges. So that could be anxiety, stress, depression, whatever the thing is. Rather than having what really resonated with me was having an outlet rather than just talk therapies. That there could be a creativity around it as well, music, creative writing, art, whatever that is. And Julie is a psychotherapist by trade. Is that correct? Yes. Psychotherapist, and recognizing this, for whatever reason, we're going to get into it now. But before we do, Julie, welcome and thank you for doing this. And could you tell me a bit about you? A bit about yourself and how you got into this first and foremost.
I've been working I worked in addiction for nearly 15 years in addiction. I came into the trade, if you like, late really, because I had 2 young children and the training was just quite intense, so I wasn't able to do it all in one go. So I thought actually I could do is wait until my children are coming out of school and then train to do addiction. I got a personal interest in the addiction side of things, because I'd had to support a teenager actually go through some difficult issues with addiction, which gave me a real interest in actually supporting. I was only 20 at the time, by the way, when I support this teenager, and it was really difficult to get them the right help. And I've gone back quite a long time now. It's a lot easier now when I say that loosely. It's not that easy, but it's easier than it was. And that really inspired me to actually want to do something to try and make a difference, really, to change things. So I worked in the addiction field, as I say, for quite a while, for a small charity and then a large charity. And then fast forwarding, I came to become the director of what was then SWADS in 2015, which was an alcohol agency. But within 2 weeks of me coming in to run that project, through different cuts, and they worked as a subcontractor to a big agency, the contract got cut. And I found myself the director of an agency that actually was only big lottery funded now for an art studio and a music studio. So it meant that I had to rethink quickly. So the only funding we had was the lottery, which was then for what they deemed meaningful activities for clients suffering with addiction. But I really believed, in the years I worked in addiction, there were a lot of loopholes. There were a lot of grey areas where people just couldn't seem to get the right service. And also we saw, because we were an over 18 service, it used to break my heart the fact that there was a lot of under 18s. Actually, it wasn't necessarily an addiction they had, it was a mental health issue. And they were just using alcohol or drugs to mar what was going on for them. So I set about looking to create what is now IPSUM. And at the beginning, I remember doing a 6-month projection, thinking I know that the art and the music could really work well. I've sat with teenagers, I've sat with youngsters, and just using a talking therapy for me wasn't enough. And actually, if you couldn't engage at the very first meeting with them, you probably lose them. They wouldn't come back because actually they don't want to talk. Not all of them want to talk at that point, or they don't have the vocabulary or the words to express how they're really, really feeling. And they could be quite shut off, quite insecure for lots and lots of different reasons. And so we set about doing the first piece of work we did a pilot with a school in Swindon, which was for it's a school for behavioural and emotional problems in the age 10 to 17-year-olds. And the response was fantastic, so much so that, I'd gone to the headmistress and said, "What do you think?" And she said, well, okay, let's give it a go. Because whilst the princes had come out and talked about the talking therapist, I was sitting there talking to the screen going, yeah, but you're older now. So what about when, would you have done that when Harry was 10, 11, whatever age he was at the time? You know, you've done that as you've got older, but that isn't going to work for all children. That's not going to work for, you know, the child on the street that's actually quite damaged and very unhappy. They're not literally going to sit with a stranger and tell you how they feel. So this is how we started to look at what we could do, which I likened to coming through the side door. So basically get them involved with some art, with some music. We've got all sorts of things here, as you've seen.
Yeah.
And they've kind of developed as we've gone along, to be honest. We started with a few basic ideas, and I've not said no to anything. If somebody's come forward and said, look, what do you think about this? We'll have a go at it. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. So what you see today is what's been created by listening to our service users, to be honest.
Right. Okay. Great. And what just quickly, so they're not, it's kind of evolved now, so it's not just young people you deal with, it's adults as well. Is that correct? I saw a few guys there. Yeah. It started off as an adult service, but then we were approached by so many schools. It really shocked me, and I've got a couple of friends that are school teachers who found out what I was doing, and literally, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how bad it is in schools now, with children really, really struggling, really suffering, and because they're isolating themselves, and the teachers could see there was something wrong. And one of my friends who's a teacher said that she's got a little 8-year-old who started cutting herself, and it was like, she said it's changed so much since she started. And so that, you know, through all the different people that came to me, I thought, actually, yeah, I've always believed that actually we need to make this an inclusive service for everybody, and not just to offer music therapy to people unless you're of a certain income, is a lot of money. And if you've got children out there that actually, you know, children, young adults, well, anybody really, not, you know, the whole spectrum, all age groups, it's a barrier. If you can't afford it, it can be a barrier. And I did a little bit of research and realised that when you go to the GP surgery and they'll find you therapy, they'll find you a counsellor, they can only offer 6 to 12 sessions. Now, and that's kind of the adult provision. Yeah. And I think there's a massive gap in the teenage provision too. It kind of falls through the gap between 16 and 18. I'm not criticising. That's just what funding allows. And so for me, what I thought was, if we can offer something that is open-ended, realistically, and we can help all age groups. What happened was, I've just done some figures, and actually there's almost like a 50-50 split between the 10 to 18-year-olds and then 18 up. Right. And our children's service provision is getting bigger. I see.
Which is a real worry.
Yeah, for sure. So backtracking quickly, why the name IPSUM? Well,
we kept the name SWADS for quite a while, because SWADS has been a charity for 49 years, it would have been this year, changing and evolving as it went. And when I came in, sort of through nostalgia, really, I thought, no, SWADS has got a good name. We'll keep the name IPSUM, but SWADS. But what I forgot was it was associated addiction. And so a lot of professionals were saying, we have a real problem, people want it, and then got an addiction. And even though we keep telling them that's not what you are anymore, so what we changed the acronym from the Swindon and Wiltshire Alcohol and Drug Service, we changed it to Supporting Wellbeing and Developing Stability, was its original, we changed it to. But I didn't really think about, it's really hard to change. It's been in Swindon for such a long time that it's really hard to change people's perception. So we said about, having listened to a lot of professionals, they're saying we're having some real problems. Even though we had a lot of people coming through the door, a stigma attached to, it's ironic, the stigma attached to addiction, mental health, whatever, really. So I sat with my team and we looked at what we could. Well, let's change it completely. So basically, IPSUM is actually Latin for self. So it literally is just IPSUM, which is self. And our email, I changed our email to ipsum.care, which is self-care. So that basically is why I changed it to IPSUM. I wanted it to be simple. I didn't want it to be clever. I just wanted it's self-care, and if you come in, one size doesn't fit all, and whatever it is, whatever care you need and the support you need, we will do our best to offer. And if we can't offer it, both myself and my team have been around this area for a long time. We'll probably have a face that we can hook you up with, get you the right support, rather than, and that again is really important with the youngsters, is to then send them to another stranger. Realistically, it's not great. It's detrimental to their well-being when they've plucked up courage to talk to you. Whereas if you can't help, 9 times out of 10 I can phone somebody else and I'll get them here to meet with them, so that you take away that fear of the not knowing. That's another big thing, is fear of not knowing. And walking through the door for any age is really difficult to come in and say, I've got a problem. So I think my as I said earlier, I liken it with the children and teenagers coming through the side door. They come in, they look at the art room, they look at our really fantastic music studio, they talk with the team, are enthusiastic. And we had a lad the other day, and he'd come in with a group of people. He's 16, I think. And I suddenly realised he wasn't there, and I found him sitting in the corridor with his hands on his head. And I said, "Are you all right?" And he just said, "I can't cope with a lot of people. I'm really sorry." And he was starting to have a panic attack. So instead of taking him outside, I said, "Come with me." So we went downstairs because I knew the music studio was free. "Come and sit in here with me for a minute." So we sat, and of course Richie was sitting in there. Started talking to him, and I watched this lad who was sat with his hood up. All of a sudden we saw his eyes, and he was looking at all the stuff that Richie does with DJing and rapping, and it was playing in the background. It was pure fluke, but it was playing in the background. And he literally was like, "Oh, that's cool. He's coming in now." Right. He's actually working with us now. Now, if I'd have suggested that, but rather than me take him outside, sitting down and doing some breathing with him, I thought, no, I was going to take him downstairs and do that, which I did. But I knew it straight away. It was just looking around like, oh. But if I'd have said, "You come and talk to me, tell me what's going on," it wouldn't have.
No.
But it was the connection. So, talking therapists have their place, and they're really, really important. They're really important, and they are powerful, and groups are powerful, but they don't work for everybody. Not to start with. You have to build a relationship, especially with our youth. You have to build a relationship to make them feel confident, to build a relationship with somebody who actually want to come and engage, and then they start to feel more relaxed about talking.
Very much so, yeah. So what is it then, in your opinion, what is it about creativity in general that has, the effect on the mind or the brain for anybody, like youth or adults? What do you think that thing is? What's the connection? Yeah.
I think the connection is you can switch off from, somebody said to me a while back, it actually, when my hands are busy or my mind is thinking about the music, it allows me to give the rest of my brain a rest, which I thought was quite interesting. It allows me to stop, it enables me rather to stop thinking about my anxieties or whatever it is that's going on for me. It actually is a distraction, but it's more than a distraction because it actually helps you to express how you're feeling, and you don't need words for it. So, and I thought that was quite interesting. I don't have to find the words to tell you how I feel, because actually I'm painting or I'm doing some rapping. I mean, some of the raps will definitely tell you how they feel. Some of it some we would never air on our radio show because it's like, ooh, but it's very, but it doesn't matter. You can say what you want. We're not going to stop anybody. But one in particular, we've got a little, I think he's 15, and he was rapping. But Richie built up a rapport with him and taught him how to use the digital audio workstation and do all the cool, funky stuff that goes right over my head. I'm a lady of a certain age, goes right over my head. But they like it. They seem to connect with it. And then he started to put words to it, not written down, just literally starting to come out, these words. And the first 3 or 4, we've sort of listened to them now, and we're about 10 tracks now. The first few, you wouldn't dare, you just wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's more expletives than there is anything else. But you can almost track his journey, because now what he's doing, he is so clear and concise about what's going on inside him. It's worthy of an Eminem track. It reminds me of some of Eminem's tracks, whereby you go, wow, that's emotive. But you can track his journey through these different ones that he's done, the very angry ones that just full of things that, you can't really, that there's a very angry person. Just see, just through that work with these raps, how it's helping him.
Yeah, sure.
Can't fix a problem. It's helping him to heal, and it's helping him to
Yeah.
suppress things that are locked inside, because it's no good. The more we suppress, we swallow things down. It's a creative outlet that actually is a lot of fun. And to start with, I don't think they realise the power that's behind it. Where, as opposed to, come talk with me, let's talk, there's going to be an anxiety attached to that. But we've seen there's an anxiety attached to everything, obviously, and it's the fear of the not knowing. But I've seen so many of the children and the youth that we work with change dramatically. And well, what have you done? Well, we've just given them a tool. We've just given them a paintbrush, or Sue's just done a workshop on putting words with a picture, and you want to see some of the things that's happened, that it's coming from somewhere inside, but it feels safe. And luckily, if things get too deep, I think that's what's really special about IPSUM, is our team is diverse, and I've got over 22 counsellors, not in the building all at the same time, I hasten to add, but we're able to manage if things do start to go into a place might feel unsafe for the person we're working with. We do have a way of then thinking, is this time now for this person to get therapy? And we've got music therapists here too, who, if your connection is through the music, and you'll get into a different level, and we need to keep you safe, because obviously, there's no telling when things start to come out sideways. We can refer you in with him, which whoever's here will have met him already. So again, there's no taboo to, oh God, another stranger. Not a stranger. You see, my door's always open, except this morning because I don't want to be talking. But the door is always open, and there is no hierarchy. You can come in and sit and have a chat. And so everybody that comes here sees all of us. They see us. And so there's never, oh, okay, I've got to go in. You want me to go in and chat with Julie? Yeah, okay. But it's not so we try and make it as comfortable as we can.
Yeah, sure. That's great. I love that. And it's funny, I wanted to touch on that. When I look at some of my favorite artists, and I look at, there's a definite, when you look at the history behind why creativity or artists or musicians and things, poets even, resonate with me, is because they leave so much of themselves in their work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you can see it's an outlet. And some of these people, some of my favorite people, have been really troubled, bless them, and taken their own lives or whatever, but they've still had the outlet and that expression. And I think science is proving now that there's also that, the connection of being in flow state. And like you said, getting, to paraphrase you said, you can forget about yourself for that time being and just focus on something else, your own troubles or whatever. You've gone somewhere else. You're in a different place. So that's so powerful. And I think we can forget that. And what's interesting is what's so rewarding as well is that happens both ways. It happens for the person doing the thing. It happens for the person like watching, seeing the picture or listening to the music or whatever as well. They have that interpretation as well. So it's almost it's full circle. For me, I find this It's so powerful, so powerful.
No, I think it is. And I know that when we did it, just digressing slightly, we do some fundraisers, and we did. I put on a charity ball last year. It was the first thing we'd ever done, and lots of my friends supported it. They don't really know what I do. I mean, they know what I do, but they don't really know what I do. And we had 200 people in the room, and I'd put together at the beginning what I thought was like a little compilation of our film to show them what we do. I had 3 or 4 speakers, and we just told the story of IPSUM, and I spoke at the beginning for 15 minutes, just talk, because I wanted them to know why they were there, and they'd spent money on tickets. This is where your money's going. I just thought it was important. And when I came off the stage, there wasn't a dry eye, and it was just like, oh my God, I had no idea that's the sort of work IPSUM does. So when you say you're a mental health charity and you support people through creative arts and talking therapies, as one of my friends said, it all sounded a bit fluffy. Fluffy?
Yeah.
It just sounded a bit. She said, but I said, do you know what? I used to be the safeguarding lead in Swindon. You have to know, you have to be totally au fait with everything, because we're dealing with people from loneliness, feeling isolated and lonely, all the way up to schizophrenia, suicidal ideation, to people that tried to commit suicide 3 days before. We have to manage. You can't. It's not just about put a paintbrush in your hand. You have to take care of each person on their own merit, and that everybody is different. Yeah. And I think that's where some of these commissioning things go wrong, to be honest, because you can't just save money and put everybody in a group, or there is power in groups. I facilitate groups, and I believe in them where there's a place for a group, but not when we're talking about, especially the youngsters, anybody really, but especially saying to them, you need to sit in a group. No, there are ways of doing it with our drumming groups and things like that. They work really, really well. But I think the government, what they're saying, we're going to put more money in. Actually, you need to kind of look at places like this that don't get any funding and look at the outcomes that we're getting, because actually it's kind of a secret weapon.
Yeah, sure.
Don't just look at CBT. Don't just CBT is a buzzword. It's got its place, but it's a sticking plaster sometimes.
Sure.
Sorry, that's a personal thing. But it's got its place. But sometimes, depending on the person, it could just be a sticking plaster. And it doesn't mean that it's going to make them well enough without reoccurring again. That they're not going to end up back where they were. But I just think they're not putting enough onus and power on the difference it can make, and with the little ones as well. If you can do an intervention with an 8-year-old that's self-harming, they're not going to want the service when they're 16. If you can manage that then, and help them to understand why they're hurting, and try and manage them through the system from an early age, it's really worrying to see how many now are really suffering with stress and anxiety. And it's only being noticed when they're teenagers. Sure.
Why do you think this so prevalent now? Is it just? It's not just a combination of people feeling more open, they can talk about it. What is it? Or this seems to be not the word trend is probably the wrong thing to say, but there seems to be it's definitely more in the awareness, than especially the last maybe even 3, 4, 5 years. It seems.
Yeah, it's definitely more talked about now. I just don't know whether they blame social media a lot on the, it's the, you're out there, you can be bullied on the internet. You don't have to be out there with a group of people. You can be bullied from your bedroom. I don't know. I don't know whether I would blame social media on its own. I wouldn't. A lot of people say, oh yeah, that's all it is. I don't think it is. I think there's more pressure now put on children. I look at my grandchildren, and there's homework from the age of 5. There's expectations on them to sit little exams, and I don't know whether that's where children can't be children anymore. I didn't have exams when I was 5. I say exams, little tests. I don't remember having any pressure at primary school. I just remember when you go to the big school, things change and you do have to come home with homework. But I can remember sitting with my daughter and looking at her homework when she was 11, thinking, I have no idea how to do this. And it was 3 different sets of homework set every night. And I think there's so much onus put on, there's a lot of pressure put on children and the young adults now to be the best, to make sure that, all the homework is done. That's okay if you've got, the brain power. It's okay if you've got the support of a network, your parents or your caregiver. That's okay. But what about the ones that don't have that? Or they're not able to have that time because you've got mum and dad at work all day long and they're sitting with their homework. Oh my God, not everybody's got the time to do that. And I just think that the way there are just many pressures, that's just named a couple, but I just think there's many pressures now that are put on us from a very early age that I don't know, I think children forget to play. I don't know, but we've done stress busters in schools for children coming up to exams and they're in a right pickle, worrying about these to the exams. Obviously, I'm not saying that. They need to be there. And there is an expectation. And that's life, isn't it? We've all got to do things to prove our worth. I just think, I don't know, the more I talk to friends of mine, the more it really bothers me about what's happening with the youngsters and that acceptability of, somebody's cutting herself at home, mum, or they took a load of tablets, mum, and they're 10. It's really sad. It's really sad. There's something not quite right. They still need to have fun.
Yeah, for sure. And what is it then that you, with regards to creativity, because again, I think, oh, what a great idea, and it's like you say, as you say, there's a side door into something, and you have that outlet. And I'm sure if anybody is watching this, they would think, oh, maybe that's something I could try, because I don't really feel, to go and speak to a professional, going to speak to someone else is probably one step too far at this point in time. What would be your advice
to somebody who's struggling?
Yeah.
To anybody out there that's struggling now, just talk to somebody. Anybody, somebody you trust, just anybody that you trust. Just say, all you have to say is, I just need someone to talk to right now, or I'm struggling. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm really having problems right now. Just tell somebody you trust. It doesn't have to be, the person that you live with. If it could be your friend. Just say, just somebody that you can speak to. Somebody that is there that you think, I could tell them that I'm really struggling. That, it's just about talking. I know that it is said about, that there's that campaign, isn't there, about we should ask twice. But for anybody that's struggling right now, you can pick up a phone as well. If you don't want to talk to somebody face to face, we get phone calls all the time. People that aren't even in this area, and they'll just talk to us. I just need to talk to somebody, and we'll do our best to signpost them to the right place. But if you're able to even just tell your mate, just tell somebody that might be able to understand. But let's talk about with the really struggling. They're really struggling. Tell somebody. There is no shame in it. There is no shame in saying I'm not sleeping at night. I'm having panic attacks, or I'm really, really struggling to get here or to do that. Can I talk to you? Can you help me? I just think taking that away and not looking at, as somebody said to me, oh no, that I couldn't do that to start with because I thought people would think I was weak. No, that's showing an inner strength, actually. You're not weak, you're showing an inner strength. Actually, you want to sort this out, and you just need the right help to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, most definitely. And also, you know, as far as because I'm just thinking, you said that people coming from all over the country to speak to you now. And what about if they wanted to find a place like yours to sort of explore creativity? Where do you start with that?
I think you have to. We've got unlimited, you know, we know about a few places, but this place is actually unique, not just to Swindon. I think it's unique in the southwest.
Right.
These need to be everywhere, to be honest. And as I say, you know, when I started this, I couldn't have, you'd asked me in the first 3 months, what's it going to look like? I could have given you a little basis, but I wouldn't have known it was going to turn into this. I had my idea, I knew where I wanted it to go, but I just listened to people. And I think if they were have known it was going to turn into this, I had my idea, I knew where some places like IPSUM all around the country for all ages to go to. I think it would be really, really good. You know, if people phone us, obviously, you know, we do get lots of phone calls. We'll have a Google and try and find something. But there isn't a lot out there whereby you're able to, mine do some creative groups, but it isn't, they're not everywhere, you know, and there's a lot of work to be done on making it accessible to all, to be honest, which is what we're trying to do, is just make it accessible to all.
Yeah,
you know, we started off as an adult service, and, you know, and through so many phone calls, we've altered it.
Yeah, sure.
But there aren't many places that give you that opportunity. There are schools, you know, there's Commonsweal School in Swindon. It's got amazing theatre and studios, and the pupils can access that, but that's not everywhere. And of course that warrants funding and donations, and it always comes back to the money.
Of course, yeah. And what was going to? So you touched on something there. So what's next for you in the group as IPSUM?
Oh well, well we're still going forward. We're looking at, because funding is really hard to achieve, and you know, there's lots of little amazing charities out there, and big ones too, that we're all looking at the same pots of money, and it's all changed so much. So my latest venture is we're working with a couple of business people on becoming a social enterprise, because it was pointed out to us that we have some amazing art, music, we do meditation CDs, all sorts of things, that we could actually have our own little social enterprise, and to raise other income for us. So that's our next little venture, is we're going to have we do little pop-up shops 4 times a year, so people can come and see us and get involved in the town or in a community centre, because we try and get out there as far as we can to reach as many people as we can. That's something ongoing, but this is something new whereby we could actually, we would like to do little exhibition centres whereby you can come in and see the artwork of the clients, everybody that does, because again, that raises self-esteem, and some of the people that do the art, actually some of our service users have actually sold artwork where it goes on our Facebook page just to show, you know, they give us permission to show it on Facebook, and then somebody contacts them and there's saying, I'd really like a print of that. So we've just literally gone into looking at a mini social enterprise for IPSUM to keep us surviving, really. So that's the next thing. But do you know what? If I was honest, the big picture would be to create an IPSUM all over the country. I really would, because it's anybody that comes here says, wow, what a special place it is. I mean, it's close to my heart, obviously, because it would be. But everybody that comes here, you've been in, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you know, we're only a little team with some amazing volunteers, but what is achieved is really, really special and quite humbling. And if there were places like this across the country, that would be great. I'd like to dominate England with IPSUMs.
Nice, fantastic. That's brilliant. No, that's brilliant. And with that in mind, then, where can people find you? Your emails and website, etc.
Yeah, so we're www.ipsum.care. you can find us. If you just put in ipsum.k, you'll find us, Swindon. And on our website you can sign up to our newsletter that we do monthly, so you can see what we're up to. If you want to come and get involved with us, just give us a call. If you're not sure if you actually want an assessment, that's okay too. Just ring and say, can I just come and have a look around? We do that too. There's no obligation, but we do say just give us a call, because we are a little team and it's hard for us to manage people that just drop in. We'll do our best, but it's quite difficult. And on our website, there's lots of links to everything that we're up to on there. And our film is on there. We've got a little 4-minute, 35-minute film that shows you about what we're about as well. So, but you can phone and speak to us. It's fine. But just give us a call, or that's where you can find us.
Fantastic.
Find us on the internet.
Fantastic, Julie. That's fantastic. I just wanted to honour you, and just you can clearly see that it's a passion of yours. And I know by speaking firsthand with some of the people that use your services, how highly they speak of it, and some of the transformations on there. I know there's a few sort of people's stories on the website as well, and they're a great read. And there's something really special about, like, again, this is why I wanted to speak to you, is having that creativity, the creative outlet and the link between the two, freeing up the mind and actually healing from a different space. And just what's so empowering about it as well, this is just you facilitating a thing where people heal themselves, right? We don't heal them as such. You just allow them to do that, put them in a nice safe environment and let them, give them the sort of the tools that they didn't even know they had, which is really, really special. So I just wanted to, thank you for that, and keep up the fantastic work that you're doing. And if anyone's watching and want to get involved in this IPSUM domination, then please contact Julie. She's very approachable. And I just want to thank you once again. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. It's interesting you said that about safe, because I call it our safe space. That's
really? Yeah.
It's a safe space to come. That's actually what we say, because it is. Because somebody said that to me one day. It's just a safe space, and I thought, brilliant, because that's actually what we've been trying to do. It's a safe space. Come in, no judgment, be yourself.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that you can't create anything unless you're feeling safe in the first place, right?
Exactly. You can't. You can't. So if we've got any, axes to grind, or we're not in a great place, or people don't trust us, or we're not approachable, then people aren't going to come and see us.
No, for sure.
So,
okay.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking.
Oh, great. Thank you.